Tax lien foreclosure properties can be amazing real estate deals. Absolutely the bargain basement of real estate, where things can sometimes be bought for pennies on the dollar. So today I'm going to show you how you get the lists, how to approach the list, and also at the end, I'm going to give you a special way to learn about this business and to do it in a way entirely different than everybody else does it, where you have no competition, where you just get lists of properties, you just pick out the ones that you want and buy them for taxes owed. So be sure to stay till the very end. So tax lien foreclosure properties happen when someone doesn't pay their real estate taxes. They don't pay their taxes for 3 or 4 years. The county will sell that house because they need that tax money. They have to pay the police, the firefighters, the school, the pick up the trash, the fill the potholes, all those things. So they're dead serious about collecting that tax money. And what they do is they hold a public auction where the high bidder gets the property. As long as they're paying at least the taxes that are due, the high bidder gets the property. So you can sometimes get things for literally pennies on the dollar. And at the end, I'm going to show you a way to definitely get things for pennies on the dollar because you'll be bidding with no competition. But first, let's cover the basics of how this works. So the first step is to figure out, do they sell tax lien properties in your area? Because in some places, they don't sell the property, they only sell the lien. In other places, they just sell the property. So what you want to find out from your local tax collector is, do they sell the properties for unpaid taxes? And so just call over to your tax collector's office and ask them. The other thing you could do is do a Google search with the county, state, and just put tax sale in there. So for example, if you were in Florida, you might put Orange County, Florida tax sale. If you're in Pennsylvania, you might put Bucks County, Pennsylvania tax sale. In Ohio, you might put Hamilton County, Ohio tax sale. And what'll happen is you'll typically be taken to a website where if they're selling properties at tax sales, they'll have information about it. They'll have something called the conditions of sale that I'm going to get to in a minute, but they'll also have the lists and tell you about when the next sale is. Now, the lists are typically put out between 30 and 45 days prior to the sale. That's your first opportunity to start looking into these properties and deciding which ones that you want to buy. So you get this list, and here's a secret. It's going to be a big list at the beginning, and by the time the sale happens, it'll be a much smaller list. That's because when people get notice that their property is actually getting sold at tax sale, they panic, they get nervous, and they do their best to pay off those taxes. So for example, in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, I used to bid there. Typically that sale, which was once a year, would be about 3,500 properties. By the time the sale came around, about 1,000 properties were actually offered for sale. So, you couldn't do due diligence on all of them. It'd be a waste of time. So here's what you do. So first thing, get the list and then cross off all the areas you're not interested in, because they're usually organized by township. So cross off all the areas you're not interested in and forget about those. Take the areas you are interested in and start doing your electronic due diligence. So what you do is you look up the property on Google Maps. And on Google Maps, there's a little man that you can drag onto the street, and then you can see a camera eye view from when Google drove through, seeing the property, seeing up and down the street. You can kind of drive the street virtually. That'll give you an idea if it's a place that you're interested in and a property you're interested in. If it's not, just cross it off and be done with it. If it is, then circle it and you'll come back to it later. So we're going to spend all the time up to about a week before the sale, and we're just going to be screening properties. This one thumbs up, that one thumbs down. So you get your list shrunk down, and then about a week before the sale, pull the list again. What you're going to find is a bunch of properties are no longer on the list because those are ones where people have paid their taxes, and so they're not going to be sold. So those are ones where you just want to skip them. So if they're ones you're interested in, just cross them off because they're not going to be sold at the sale. And then you're going to have your short list. And your short lists are ones where you're going to drive by the property and check it out. So then start driving around. Start looking. And remember, they're going to be concentrated by township, so you can typically drive pretty quickly. But look at each property. Look to see, is there evidence of water damage? Do you see like smoke damage under the eaves where there might have been a fire in the house? Look in the windows as best you can, at least from the street, to see if the ceilings are there. One time I was looking at a property in Philadelphia, and it was a townhouse style property, which we call row houses in Philadelphia. So it had a front that's attached to the other fronts. And I drove up and I was so excited. This place was beautiful. It's stone steps. It was really elegant. Look, it's so beautiful. And I was like, oh, this is great. And so I got out of my car to go check it out a little further. And as I'm walking up, I see that I could see the sky through the window. And I'm like, this is not good. So I look up and look in the window, and there was no roof at all. And I peeked in a little more. I saw the entire house had collapsed into the basement There was nothing there. It's just a Hollywood movie set. And the house had probably had a fire a long time ago, and someone didn't pay the taxes. So after a couple of years, they sold the property. But during that time, the winters had come and go, rain had come and go, and the whole house literally just collapsed into itself. That was obviously not a deal that I wanted. But the point is, you have to go check out the properties. You got to go and see them. So when you're there, look around, look at the windows as best you can from the street. If you're further interested, unless you've crossed it off, get out of your car, go knock on the door, see if anybody's there, see what their plans are. Are they a tenant that wants to stay? Are they the owner? What are their plans? You need to do those things, because if you don't do that, then you're going to be investing your money blindly, which is a very big mistake. So also, when you're walking up to the house, look as best you can through the windows without being like a peeping Tom like this, but instead just casually look. You want to see if the ceilings are falling in, because sometimes they are. So anyway, you do your due diligence. If there are any houses that are for sale for the street, give the listing broker a call and ask what the asking price is. Ask how quickly places sell in the neighborhood. Say you're an investor, you're looking at buying places, and so you're interested in the market. Just find out, because that gives you good information. So drive all the properties. And then your last step of due diligence is to get values. So all the properties that are left, you now need to look them up on Zillow and on Realtor.com. And what you're going to do is find out what other places are for sale. Realtor.com is great for that. And on Zillow, look at what has sold to get an idea of pricing. So that's going to give you an idea of what it's worth. And make sure that you don't pay a lot of money for these properties, because they probably have not been maintained, because when someone can't pay their taxes, they also can't pay for maintenance. So make sure that you're only investing when you feel pretty certain. And if it looks rough from the outside, it's at least that rough on the inside. So be picky, because good investors are patient. They strike quickly when the deal is right, but when the deal's wrong, they don't try to force it. So don't force your deals. So the other thing to do is, before you go to the sale, and you should actually do this when you get your list of properties. When you get the list, look for a second document on the website where you download the list. And that document is called the Terms and Conditions of Sale. There, it's going to tell you when you have to register to bid. Usually that's in advance, and you have to register to bid. If you just show up at the sale, usually they won't let you in, because you have to register ahead of time. Make sure that you understand how the bidding works. Make sure you understand how and when you pay. Typically, that's a cashier's check, or you're making a wire transfer, an ACH deposit. That's how you're putting in your money. And usually it's as soon as you buy the property. So it's not something where you can get a mortgage or anything like that. So you have to have your cash ready to go. So that's the way that it works. Make sure you look at those carefully. And, these sales have issues. For example, in some states, there's something called a right of redemption. In Georgia is a good example of this. Georgia has a 1-year right of redemption. So you buy the property at the sale, you're all excited, and then you find out that you have to wait 1 year before you get the title to that property. Because for 1 year, the owner has the right to come pay the taxes, plus pay you a premium of 20%, and then they get to keep the property. So you get what you paid plus 20%, but still, you didn't get the property. So you don't get hurt financially, but you do need to understand that. And you can't even set foot on that property until that right of redemption is expired. So you want to make sure that you're identifying all those issues ahead of time. Best way to do that is get education. I have a good friend of mine named Tony that is the leader in this field. He is the superstar, the guy who knows this better than anybody and teaches it. And I did an interview with him that you can watch right now on YouTube absolutely for free. Just click on the link below this video and you'll be taken to a 15 to 20 minute interview I did with Tony, where he tells you how he buys properties at tax sale. He also tells you about this super ninja way he has of doing it, where he just gets lists of properties, picks out the ones he wants casually, and just goes and buys them for taxes due. Gets the best bargains. There's no running around. There's no same-day settlements and all that. Really, really awesome way to do it. So you definitely want to learn from Tony how he does it. He has a whole educational system that he does. He does seminars. He does shows. Really, really the best of the best. So I sat down with him, did an interview. And after that interview, if you want to go further with Tony, you'll get a chance to do that and get to learn how to do it right. But whatever you do, learn from someone who knows, because this is not the kind of thing you want to go into blindly. There are too many hazards that you wouldn't know about until it was too late if you don't get your education first. So this is Attorney Bob Diamond. I hope that this was very helpful to you. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up so that I'll know you want more content like this. If you have questions, put them down below. I'll get to them as I can get to them. And thank you for being here, and go watch the video with Tony and I promise we'll get a new education in tax sales and an opportunity for you to learn how to do it right. So this is Attorney Bob Diamond, over and out for now.